Welcome to the final part of this online saxophone event. I'm going to be talking with internationally renowned saxophonist Jérôme Laran. Jérôme has performed recitals, concerts, concertos, and given numerous masterclasses around Europe, Asia, and North America. He's based in Paris, and when he's there, he works at the W.A. Mozart Conservatoire and the Piduca Conservatoire. As well as his busy performing and teaching career, Jérôme has also released many recordings. The latest one is Hikari, which features music for saxophone and piano. I've had the pleasure of playing with Jérôme both in the UK and in Paris. And Jérôme was my guest at the very first University of Huddersfield annual Saxophone Day back in 2014. I thought it would be interesting to talk with Jérôme about how saxophonists are re-engaging with music following this difficult year. Hello Jérôme, thank you ever so much for talking with me today.
Hello Sarah, I'm very happy to be here with you and not in England, unfortunately, but from Paris. It's the first day of vacation for me.
That's great, and I hope that soon we'll be meeting up again. Let's see.
I'm looking forward.
So let's first talk about how you coped with lockdown. I'm really curious to know what was happening in Paris during this time, and I know that you have really strong connections with Japan, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how it was there as well.
The first lockdown was, I think, for most of the planet, of the Earth, was quite a big surprise. You know, I was in the Venezia airport, just came back from a concert, like always. You know, I was traveling quite a lot, every week or all 2 weeks. And one day I received a letter from a mobile phone. Okay, you are French and there is now, you have to go back as soon as possible to your country because everything will be locked. Huh? I was, completely, no, it's not possible. It's like, like a bad movie. And finally, after, on the day, I could take a plane and be back to France, to Paris. I arrived to the Conservatoire, and it was the beginning of the nightmare. Because, I was in Venezia, it was north of Italy, and impossible to enter to the school.
Wow.
Because I came back from, like, China. And it was the beginning of many, not trouble, but challenge to try to connect with people. The most, because, I come from south of France. And we are very welcome people. We are always, thinking like family. And during this time, I had to try to find a way to communicate with people. Not directly, but from the machine, from the mobile phone, from the iPad or computer. And the first lockdown, I completely forgot I was a musician. Because, when you have a very active life, and from the next day, everything is cancelled. All the lessons are cancelled, and in England or in US, you adapt very fast to this kind of situation. But France, it's very very slow. We need to have a lot of authorization to make lesson by Zoom. We didn't have authorization. We had, to find a way to teach students, but without permission, because the permission arrived 2 or 3 weeks after. Mm-hmm. This kind of challenge. And about the connection with Japan, I was in Japan 2 weeks before the lockdown, and I thought, okay, see you in 3 months, because we go with my wife in July. And what happened? They canceled the Olympic Games last year, and they will try to do it. They will do it because they decide they don't have choice. They will do it in July, but impossible to travel to Japan. That may be the most difficult country now to go because you need to stay 14 days to the hotel. You need to have an invitation. My wife, she can't go, but me no. And maybe that's the first time in my life I don't want to go. Wow. Because the difficulty, it's we go to another world. I hope after the Olympics they will be a little more open, because now they cannot, for them, if there is a 5,000 positive case, it's a nightmare. In France, it was more than 30,000 during 6 months. And yes, it's completely something we have to accept, the difference of culture, the difference of method, or the difference of government. France, I think we did many mistakes, but second time still from this year was little better, and now with the vaccine, it's better and better. We don't know until when, but it's better and better. Right now, the situation impossible to travel really, and difficult to imagine to go back of the life of before. Yeah. It's something difficult to think.
Yeah, and in Paris, you often were living under curfew, weren't you? You had overnight curfews. Is that right?
Where I don't live in Paris center. Oh. I live just outside, but not far, 6 kilos in the east. And during a few months, I couldn't take train. I had to drive much more because of this COVID, and with the instrument, we cannot, as a saxophonist, we always love to try instruments. Right now, we cannot do because with if we have anything, one student have a problem with a key, we cannot touch. It's
really
kind of
strange, isn't it? Yeah.
It's this kind of simple things as a professor we have to solve. It's kind of nightmare.
Yeah, and of course you were saying about Japan, and last year we should have had the World. Was it this year? We should have had the World Saxophone Congress in Japan, shouldn't we? So, do you know of any plans for what's going to happen with that?
I don't have any official plans, but next year they should organize. But now we never know. We cannot plan anything, but we don't know what will happen in the future, and they should do. But during the first lockdown, I was watching a lot of the Japanese TV with my wife from internet, and they continue, compared to France, they continue to organize concerts. Mm-hmm. No audience concert. They use YouTube, I think, in a good way. They made concert on live, but people had to pay a few, not expensive tickets, but they had to pay tickets. Mm-hmm. These kind of things, no one did in France. Mm-hmm. It's completely difficult, completely opposite culture. Mm-hmm. In Japan, they are like you. They can really anticipate or find solutions much faster than us in France. France, we are more artists, I would say.
Yeah, it was very interesting what you said about the organising online teaching. I was actually at work on the Monday and told to go home, and by the Wednesday of this very same week we were expected to be teaching online. We had to learn very, very fast to get all of our lessons and our lectures online straight away, and initially I found that very hard, very stressful. There was a lot to learn straight away. It would have maybe been nice to have had a little bit more time, But at least then for our students, there was a little bit of continuity. So even though there was this big change in their lives when they had to just suddenly stay home, but actually we did manage to get the lessons starting quite quickly, very quickly. So can I ask you, did you find any positives about teaching online? Because I definitely found there were some things that I realised in my teaching, which I think I possibly did in a better way when it moved online. Something I'm very guilty of, I think, is I don't always give my students enough time to play, because I can always see the mistake that's coming. And on an online lesson, of course, you can't interrupt them. And suddenly my students had a chance to play an entire section or a movement, and that gave me a different insight. And it was interesting. I think when I go back, when I'm teaching more in person again, I think I need to remember to take that step back and give my students some space, like I have been doing online.
For me, I had many kind of online moments. It was, I completely hate on the first moment, because for me it was not a lesson. And I had the second moment I start to enjoy, because I had to accept I will not go back to my classroom. I will continue this way. And because I will continue this way, I had to find something positive. And exactly same as you. One etude by Lacour or anything can be so long, because I didn't give enough time to play. And these online things gave us opportunity to hear students with a different perspective. And maybe for me the most important was family can really be part on the teaching process, because all the family started to be together. And Papa and Mama with the 3 or 4 kids, they have one kid play trumpet, second one play clarinet, and third one play saxophone, and 3 online lessons in the same time. Lot of noise, but the dad or the mom is next to the child, and Professor, I have a question. This what is a P? What is TA? Can you show me? We had to start to really give the family the possibility to be involved to the lesson. It was the beginning of the second part of the most positive things. Families start to think, okay, I bought saxophone, the mouthpiece, rates, and score. Now I have to help my child, because when I ask to family, there is no CD now. There is, if you want to have music, you go to Spotify or you go to Apple Music, but people, they don't hear music at home. And with the online moment, all the family, they had to do what I teach. Well, not 100%, I will not lie, not 100% could do, but most of them, because maybe people come from big city like the capital, most of them were working online at home with on the bank, I don't know. And they had to really understand, okay, music is something important in life of this family. We need to do something with the child. And on my teaching, I had a kind of challenge, because some students told me, we don't want to have a lesson online because we cannot play at home. There is a young student, because all, not young, but like a high level student, they practice 6 hours at school, but they never play at home because that's so small, and they have a small flat. And it was some student I couldn't teach during 3 months, but I had to prepare something. I had to send, because they couldn't play more than 1 hour, because if they start to play, neighbor, they make a lot of noise. And it was a big challenge for me because this kind of student, I am more than 40, but I am 20. That they have to accept the world could be on this way from now. With this small, different kind of crisis, many things will happen. And okay, it was quite positive for them because so many this kind of student had a lot of stress to play at home, and this stress, even they play, it was a lot of stress of sound, of embouchure, and many things. And when they came back to school to play, it was a long, big smile. Wow, make a sound is a treasure, and that's what I start to feel for myself. I was practicing a lot. I love practice. And now, I cannot say I love practice like before because, we don't have so much project to do. But my student taught me we need to be very happy to have the possibility to play. And we have to have the possibility to make a lesson, to try to make a communication. And when I came back to school for the first time, I was the most happiest guy. Wow. My job is not to play and to take playing. My job is to really teach and to really enjoy to teach. It's funny, funny feeling. Because this new generation, they are very good with all online things. I am very bad. I am very, very bad for all computer, for all things. But this period, I had to adapt. I had to work with the Zoom, and we did, for the Saxophone Association, a lot of meetings. Yes, there is positive things, of course. But need to think, need to readapt to teach. There is a teaching way on the class, and there is a teaching way online. And there is students, they will maybe, like before, never travel to come to go to a country to study. They will stay in a country and they will take some class online because I don't know if it's good or not, but it's the world of now.
Yes, and I was really interested thinking about you, Jérôme. You are always incredibly connected with your students, and you're always very interested in people. So I can imagine that was something that was a real challenge for you, not to physically connect with people like you're used to. But also, when you were talking about your students and their ability to practice, that's definitely something that I realised happened with me, that because I was only ever playing in this room for months, that my sound changed. This last year, my sound got very small, and I think also when I was, because playing in lessons online, and the difference between your voice volume and then your saxophone volume, and I hadn't realised until I went into a bigger space again just how small my playing had got. Did you have a chance? Were you able to practice as much as you wanted at home, and did you find that your sound changed as well?
With my wife, we bought an apartment 4 years ago, and it was not supposed to make here a practice room. That's why I never thought I will practice here. Maybe 1 hour sometime I can play, I ask neighbor, I can do. But for me, 1 hour is not practice. It's just it's just warm up. And on the beginning of the lockdown last year, it was a nightmare. I tried, to keep 1 hour or 2 hour of practice, with tension, with concert. But day after day, everything comes out. And this, impossible. What I did, I changed my mouthpiece. And I bought softer ones. Because why I have to play 3.5 or 4 to play a lot of altissimo in a small room, and to play 10 minutes in front of iPad or to practice 1 hour maximum. No, I start to play reed number 3, and I learn a different kind of saxophone. I started, to watch a lot of YouTube about technique, about many things, about a lot of instruments, like yo-yo mat, perlman, or clarinet, and to think, okay, saxophone is a very loud instrument, I felt. Because compared to other instruments, we have a lot of sound without doing, because the instrument, that's the nature of the instrument. And when I started to came back to school after a few months, yes, my sound was not same. But I was not same as well. Mm-hmm. Because during this moment, I had to rethink, to remake my conception of what is music. Because music can be, like you are injured, you cannot play. It will be maybe like this. And I have to work more than 20 years. Okay, I accept. And when I will come back to a live concert, I will not play like before. Mm-hmm. And of course, when I made my first live concert, even with orchestra, my ear was much more connected. I was not, completely hearing myself, because I couldn't do. I had to think in 3 dimensions, not only saxophone for saxophonists. I hope I am much more connected with other people now, because my sound changed. I changed, and my way of thinking is completely different than before. Now, I am not very interested to have a lot of things, have a lot of concerts, a lot of activities, because during 1 year now. But I want to keep this fresh mental, to always, when I open the case, try to be like a child, like all my kids when they open the case. Wow, I'm so happy to play. Maybe I came back to when I was 11, and when I bought my first professional saxophone. Wow, so beautiful instrument. I am on this way now.
That's really, it's exciting, isn't it? That it's forced us to really think about music and what it means to us, because it's been so hard to do. And like you say, someone like you who's been so busy these last few years, traveling and performing constantly, and your performing life changed so dramatically. And that's really exciting for me, that you've managed to get back to that excitement of playing, which is, it's so important that we never lose sight of why we're doing it. I guess I've had a similar experience, perhaps in a slightly different way. I've really enjoyed setting up a kind of recording studio here. I've spent some time learning how to record and getting some microphones, and because everything's set up here all the time, what I've done is I've done a little bit of recording, when I've taken maybe a saxophone quartet piece but recorded all of the parts, and that's really helped me to think about the piece as a whole and engage in it in a different way, I think. And although it's not the same as working with people at all, it's definitely helped me think about my journey on all the 4 saxophones. And again, like you, it's thinking about what I'm looking forward to going back to. Really interesting. I think what I'd like to ask you, following on from that, because it's so fascinating hearing you describe your experience and your thoughts with your music, is do you have any suggestions for saxophonists as we're emerging out of lockdown? I'm sure you've got some great ideas as to how how people might think about their practice, and what sort of things perhaps they should consider to be important now, as we hopefully are going to get back to more playing together opportunities.
Maybe this moment force all the musicians, all the people to think about our life. It was so many people that dead, so many people lost their life and lost their money, lost their job. And fortunately, many of my friends, many of musicians, because of the French system, they could continue without activity. And I think French, the artists in France, will have to be very happy by our, I don't make any politics, but we have just, what I see, we have to be very happy about what happened to support our activities. That's just the beginning. Now, as a saxophonist, we love what we say, conference. We do a lot of these kind of things. And always I was sad on this kind of event. Well, yes, I met you, of course, I was always happy, but because we support the young, we support our country. But to play at 9 o'clock in front of 5 people is maybe not what we should restart. And what I really think now, my generation, our generation, we are in charge of the future of many musicians, many young musicians. I would like to teach them. It was a life before the lockdown. Now it is, there is a life we need to remake. Life fits, if we make concert, we need to have audience. As a saxophonist, if we play only saxophone music for saxophonists, we will be never happy. No one will be happy. And we don't have any Tchaikovsky, Brahms, of Mozart, of course. We have good music. We have a few masterpieces, but not like a Brahms violin concerto of Bach. But if we are better as a musician, maybe, I am not talking about marketing, but maybe we have to be better on the music, but not on the saxophone. Because saxophonists, there is so many people with great technique, but technique is not music. Technique is a part of the music. It's just a small part. And if we make competition for saxophone, there is less and less people wants to do. Why? Because there is problem of music, or there is problem of the way we make this kind of competition. And saxophone ensemble, it's great. It's fantastic. You have one, like your ensemble. It's great. We do things in Paris, but we need to be inside the musical society. We need to collaborate with other musicians. We need to make saxophone a normal instrument, not an instrument for can play jazz or classic, but we are not very sure. Myself, I am not jazzman. I am a classical player. I play only classical music. And I try to be a classical musician. And if there is something very clear now in my mind, I'm French, and I have a strong history for saxophone. We have a strong history for saxophone. But compared to before, maybe so many people, they don't know this history. I have to remake this. I have to replay the Scaramouche. I have to replay the Desenclos, the Ibert, Glazunov. We have to replay our repertoire. We have to stop this transcription for violin with a lot of altissimo. Yes, it's good to study, but compared to real musician, it's maybe not what people want to hear. We need to, I have a very strong memory of concert in England where we go to church with people very big open eyes. They see the big ensemble. Wow, that's so good. It sounds like organ. That's our audience. Our audience. We need, I think, to make normal people on the train would like to hear saxophone. Not only Kenny G, but saxophone. What we do. And if we are able, our generation, to remake this instrument like something people want to hear, in 20 years, it will have, the next generation could have a lot of job. Because now, I don't know in England, but in France, no, there is no job anymore. Already, all the teaching positions are completely. It will be a little, but it's not, something. I don't know if I am still in the subject, in the topic, but for me, the future of our instrument, it's a very big challenge from now, because the young student, the student from university, from college, they will be soon on the reality. The reality, they will not eat with playing des enclos. But that's our story. Yeah. And we need to, maybe des enclos is not the best composer in the world, but that's a part of the instrument we play. And as a French, as a still little young musician, I will try to remake saxophone something interesting to hear. That's my personal challenge. And of course to my students, to make them happy to play the instrument. Technique, we have all life to learn technique. But musicality.
Yeah. Jérôme, I think that's such an interesting, important point that you've made, because I think there have been some people who've been locked away for a year and all they've thought about is technique. And I think you're exactly right that what we have learned is it's that musical connection that's so important. And I think something that we do very well in England, I think, is we're able to think about music across lots of genres, and as saxophonists we enjoy a lot of music, and I think that might be a way to connect with our audience, because you're right, you can always be better and play a more technically demanding piece, and everything gets harder and harder, but you have to bring it back to that musical connection, don't you? And that combination of understanding our history and the pieces in our repertoire, those sort of core works and where we're coming from, but finding a way to open it out for the audience to really engage and enjoy what we do. I think you're right. I think that's what's really important as we come back out into the world with our music. That's really fascinating what you said there. Thank you. Jérôme, as always, I have really enjoyed chatting with you. I know you're on vacation, and you also told me that just today you've had your second Pfizer vaccination. Yes. Congratulations. Do you have any immediate plans or projects that you can share with us at all coming up?
This summer, for the first time for 20 years, I will not do so many things. I will travel just once. I will teach in Hungary on the last week of July, and I will do our family festival in my village on the southwest of France. And except this, I will just stay at home and little vacation, little things. But I will try to release all the tension and to be back for September in a new life, and I hope without a new lockdown. And but this summer, I will of course prepare some score for the entrance, because we have there is a second volume of the scale book from my former professor with all altissimo, how to learn altissimo. There is a few transcription from Schumann or from something will happen. But you know, it's not something with tension. It's just pleasure to make music. But this year, you know, my mother left us on January, and this village festival will be dedicated to her. So that's why, you know, I am much more thinking to what I can do and what I can play in a very good way, that touring always. And yes, and from September, I will conduct much more. I will be in charge of 4 wind bands in my school. That's why I need to be careful of my shoulder, because to conduct, there is 250 kids, 4 bands, but with a big smile, all with a big smile, you know, as that treasure during 2 years, no concert, no activity, rehearsal, 6 people, they never played together 2 years. And when my director proposed, okay, Jérôme, what do you think to be the next one? It was 2 seconds. Yes, of course, I want to do. Because, you know, now, in my life, the education is maybe the most important thing with the saxophone. To make people happy to play. And if people are happy to play, I hope audience will be happy to hear our instrument.
I'm sure they will. And that sounds fascinating. Jérôme, thank you ever so much for talking with me, and I hope that we'll be able to have you back in the UK very, very soon.
I hope so. But I'm sure, you know, I love your country. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Au revoir.
À bientôt.
Thank you for attending this online saxophone event. Many thanks to the University of Huddersfield for hosting the event. And also thank you to my sponsors Yamaha, Van Doren, Selma and Daddario. And to my supporters for the Saxophone Day, Winstruments, Saxtech Publications, Fortin Music and Quirk Music. I'm looking forward to hosting the 8th Annual Saxophone Day live in 2022, and I hope I'll see you all there. Thank you for watching.